Hello, Creative Gems. Welcome back to Creativity. And if you're new here, I'm Sandy. Before we jump into today's craft project, I want to let you know that today's craft project was inspired by a special necklace that Keystyle sent me. Let me quickly show you why. So the necklace comes with a stainless steel chain and this beautiful pendant. The inspiration I took from this necklace is actually the beautiful number 8 pendant. Keystyle has number pendants as well as letter pendants, and you can choose either silver or gold finish. Take a look at how pretty that is, and of course the bling is absolutely gorgeous. The stones are made of cubic zirconia, and honestly I don't think the camera is doing any justice to how much sparkle this pendant gives off. When the light hits the stones, it looks absolutely brilliant. So taking inspiration from this necklace today, I have a bunch of large number 8 blocks I picked up at the Dollar Tree. These blocks are made of particle board and each block is extremely solid. I've actually crafted with these before, as you can see from the top right corner of your screen. I included a snapshot of some candle holders I made using these number 8 blocks a couple of years back, and once I received the necklace from Keystyle, I was re-inspired to make some more home decors with these number 8 wood blocks again. So today I'm going to make a beautiful tray using these blocks. To begin, we're going to start embellishing these blocks, starting with the inside curves of each of the blocks. I'm going to take some silver rhinestone trim, and this rhinestone trim is actually a perfect embellishment for these number 8 blocks because they're so flexible so they can conform to the shape of the number 8. The trim is also self-adhesive, so it will be very quick to apply the trim without having to mess with any glue. The trim comes in rows, and all you need to do is measure out how many rows of bling you need and then cut them to size. And by the way, I know many of you are going to ask about this trim as well as some of the other embellishments I use for my crafts. So if you're wanting to stock up, I have links to everything in the description box. I'll also include a link to the necklace I showed you earlier in case some of you would like to get one for yourself or someone else in your family who may like it. And with that said, I've gone ahead and started applying the trim to the first of 4 number 8 blocks that we'll be crafting with today. I have the trim applied to the inside circles, and as you can see, it's pretty easy to apply the trim. And whatever excess there may be, I can just snip them off. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the trim to the inside circles for the rest of the number 8s. I think what I'll actually do is size one strip out and then use it as a template for the rest of the blocks. And I'll go ahead and speed up that part of the video so this tutorial doesn't get too long. So it actually didn't take me too much time, and the inside circles of all the number 8s are now embellished with the beautiful rhinestone trim. Now you could opt to continue embellishing the rest of these blocks with the same rhinestone trim if you wanted to, but I'm actually going to change things up a bit just to keep things interesting, and so I can show you some of the other creative and pretty ways you can embellish the number 8 blocks. For the front and back of each block, I decided to apply some clear round gems, but before I do that, I want to cover up the natural coloring of these blocks by painting the front and back with some white paint. And while I work on painting these, I would like to take a moment to thank you for tuning in to today's craft project. If you enjoy glam home decor and DIY crafts on a budget, please let me know by hitting that subscribe button. And if you like what you see today, please give me a thumbs up as well so YouTube will continue to recommend my channel to other viewers like you. Now, depending on the type and quality of the paint you use, you may need to apply more than one coat of paint to completely cover the original coloring of these blocks. I would recommend using acrylic paint because they'll dry fast and they're readily available at any dollar store. Or you could also use any leftover house paint you may have from the hardware store, which is what I'm actually doing. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part of the video as well, but hopefully you can see that I'm not even being too careful with the brush strokes. In fact, the paint job does not have to be perfect because, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to go back in with some gemstones anyhow. Okay, so we finally have all the number 8s painted front and back, and the paint dried very quickly. So now we're ready to bling them out again. So here I have some gem stickers from the Dollar Tree. I actually have not seen them sell these in a while where I'm at, so I'm glad I was able to grab a couple of packs a few years back. But honestly, I'm down to my last pack, so I'm not even sure if I'll have enough to finish this project. So I ended up going back to my stash and I found a few packs of these larger gem stickers. I don't actually recall exactly which store these are from, but I was able to find similar packs of gem stickers online, so if you want to stock up on them, check the description box for a link. As you can see here, I ended up removing the smaller gem stickers, and now what I'm doing is applying the larger ones all around the outer edge of each number 8 block. Then later on, I'll go back in and fill in the rest of the space with the smaller gem stickers. That way, I won't run out of either sizes. Of course, if you're well stocked up, then you can design your blocks however you want. Or if you're not able to stock up on these gem stickers, you can also apply flat back gems instead, which is what I did when I made those candle holders I showed you earlier at the beginning of today's tutorial. The downside, though, with crafting with those loose flat back gems is it's quite tedious and it takes a bit of patience, especially if you have a lot of area that you need to embellish with the gems. That's why I decided this time to embellish these blocks with gem stickers instead, because when I made those tall candle holders with these blocks, it took me quite a while to cover all of the blocks with the loose flat back gems. Anyhow, I'll go ahead and fast forward this part of the tutorial because it's quite self-explanatory by now how to apply the gem stickers. So I finally have one side done and I think it looks pretty nice. So I'll go ahead and finish up the rest of the number 8 blocks and then come back and show you what they look like. Okay, here are the number 8s. Both front and back of each are completely embellished with the larger and smaller gem stickers. Now we're left with the sides to embellish. But we're going to pause on that because these number 8 blocks are going to be legs to a tray we're going to make, which means they'll need to be attached to the tray, and I want to leave the parts that are going to be attached to the tray without any embellishments. So let me show you what we'll be using to create the tray. Here I have a rectangular wood tray from the Dollar Tree. These are apparently supposed to be used for resin pouring, but we're not going to do that today. But comment down below with the word tray and let me know if you would like me to do a craft project and tutorial for resin crafts. In the meantime, I'm going to remove the plastic wrapping from this tray and then turn the tray upside down and place it flat directly onto the table surface. If you want a taller tray, you can place the number 8 blocks vertically, but I'm going to go ahead and place mine horizontally, 2 on each of the shorter sides of the tray like so. To adhere them to the bottom of the tray, I'm going to use wood glue, but if you want to be a little more adventurous, you could also opt to screw in some nails as well, which will guarantee that the legs will never fall off the tray. But for my tray, since I will not be placing heavy stuff on top of it, wood glue will work just fine. And while I work on this, I would love to know where you are all tuning in from. Recently, I've gained a lot of new subscribers and many of you have been leaving me wonderful comments and feedback. So if you drop me a note to let me know where you're from, I'd love to give you a shout out in the comments section to welcome you to my channel. And if English is not your first language, please feel free to comment in your own language and I'll try to respond back in your language as well. In fact, you can also tune in into all of my tutorials now in other languages besides English. So if you prefer Spanish or Portuguese, which I know are my top 2 non-English speaking viewers, go ahead and select that option in your YouTube settings. Okay, so all the wood glue has been applied and it will take about 20 minutes for the wood glue to cure. So in the meantime, I'll add some clamps just to help things along. And then I'll come back so we can finish building out this tray. Okay, so all the wood glue is now cured and the legs are firmly secured to the tray. What I want to do now is embellish this tray. I want to cover up all the natural color of the wood blocks that are still exposed. First, I'm going to go into these crevices here and use some silver beads to line the outer edges. Normally, I would have gone in and painted those areas, but I wanted to do something a bit different. These silver beads have a mirror-like finish, so I think they'll look very pretty. If you're familiar with my crafts, you'll know that I often like to incorporate these silver beads into my home decor crafts because they make excellent trims and they're easy to apply with just a little bit of hot glue. You can cut them down to size and they're very lightweight so they won't weigh things down. I still have a few more areas to cover up with these beads, so I'll work on that and then come back so we can finish up this tray. Okay, so all the beads are applied now, and now only the sides of the legs are left. So let me show you how I'm going to embellish them. I have these beautiful glass gems that I'm going to use. These are real glass and the facets on each piece are just so pretty. The gems come in rolls and you can cut them to size. So for the number 8 blocks, I'll need 2 rows. I'm only going to cut out enough to cover the sides without covering the very bottom of the legs. And these gems are self-adhesive, so once you peel back the wax backing, you can apply them directly to the blocks. They're actually very, very sticky, so go in light-handed so you can double check the positioning of the gems. If you need to reposition them, you should still be able to do so as long as you were light-handed when putting them down to the blocks. Once you're sure you have the correct positioning, go ahead and press down on the gems so they'll stick firmly to the blocks. These gems are so pretty and very high quality, so when the light hits them, they reflect very brilliantly. And because these gems are made of real glass, they'll give a little bit of extra weight to the legs of the tray and help weigh the tray down. So now that the legs are all embellished, let's turn our attention to the tray surface. I have this silver contact paper that I'm going to use to cover the top of the tray. This contact paper has a brushed stainless steel finish that I find quite unique. And because it has a very smooth and glossy finish, it will be very easy to wipe it down with a damp cloth whenever you need to clean it. Here, I've cut a piece of the contact paper that is slightly larger than what I need because once I put it down, I'll go back in and use a box cutter to remove any excess from the edges. But before applying the contact paper, I would highly recommend checking the surface of the tray to make sure it's clear of any dust, lint, or dirt particles because once you apply the paper, if there's anything stuck on the tray, it will create a bump on the paper that will be very visible. Now I'll go ahead and remove the wax backing and carefully place the paper onto the tray using my hands to smooth out any air bubbles. As you can see, I have some excess paper on one side, so I'll push the edges in as much as I can to create a crease along the edges, and then I'll take a box cutter and carefully cut away the excess paper from the edges. You want to make sure you get a very clean straight edge, so don't rush this step. Next, I'm going to take the same silver rhinestone trim we used earlier on the legs and apply a narrow strip all along the inner sides of the tray. This will provide our tray a consistent design so the tray top will match the legs. For the frame of the tray, I decided to start by painting it white. You can see here I already started painting it and now I only have this one side left. To be honest, the white paint is looking pretty plain to me. It looks perfectly fine the way it is, but if you know me, I like lots of bling and glitter. So I'm going to have to come up with another idea to further embellish this frame area. For now, while the paint dries, I'm going to work on the sides of the tray. I have a roll of silver chrome card trim that I think will look perfect. It's self-adhesive, but I'll likely add a tiny dollop of hot glue along each rounded corner as well as to the ends of the trim, just to make sure it doesn't come apart. Now, with the silver chrome card trim applied, you can see there's still about 2 millimeters of the original wood that is still exposed below the card trim. So I'm going to go ahead and go back with a single row of the silver rhinestone trim. And while I do that, comment down below and let me know what embellishments you like to craft with. Is there an embellishment that you like to craft with that you haven't seen on my channel yet? If so, I would love to know what it is, as I'm always looking for pretty embellishments to amp up the glam factor for my home decor crafts. Because if you know me, you know what I always say, the more bling, the better. If you agree with me, let me know down in the comments. In the meantime, if you would like to stock up on any of the embellishments and craft supplies you see me using, check for links to everything down in the description box. Okay, we're almost to the home stretch. I decided to go back in and further embellish the top of the tray where I painted it white using these silver plastic forks from the Dollar Tree. What I'm going to do first is cut the handles off these forks because it's the handles that we will be adorning the tray with. I'm going to be using a total of 18 fork handles, so one pack will be more than sufficient since each pack of these forks come with 24 forks. And if you don't have any of the forks, the spoons will do as well since the handles on the fork and the spoon are actually identical. The only problem is whether you'll be able to find these silver plastic forks or spoons at your local Dollar Tree. I haven't seen these at any of mine in Canada for 2 years now, but I was lucky the last time I went to the US. I was able to find them at one location and I pretty much bought out the whole store after searching everywhere in South Florida. I usually like to leave at least 1 or 2 packs so I don't clean out the entire store, but this time I decided I had to make an exception since it's been so difficult to find them. In fact, let me know down in the comments if your local Dollar Tree is still stocking these silver plastic spoons and forks. And if so, let everyone know in case others are searching for them. And for those who are unable to find them, you're actually in luck because I did manage to find similar ones online and they even sell them in 100 packs. If you refer to my dollar store alternative links in the description box, you'll be able to find them online like I did. Okay, so now that we have all of our handles cut out, I'll show you a few different ways you can use them to embellish the tray. You can lay them out so half of each spoon overlap like this. Or you can space each spoon so they all face the same direction like so. Or as a third design, I'm going to lay them all in the same direction, but with the ends stacked on top of each other. And I'll secure them down with just a tiny bit of hot glue. You want to make sure you don't apply too much because you don't want any excess glue oozing out and making a mess on the tray. I find using these handles to craft with are such a great, easy, and affordable way to make unique and beautiful home decor. In fact, I have designed many large trays using these handles and it's always so fun to craft with them. The first one you see on the top right corner is a tray I made from a very large picture frame that I painted white, and on top of the glass that came with the frame I sprinkled a layer of little white vase filler acrylic beads and then Mod Podge strips of white tissue paper all over it. After everything dried, it created a hard but smooth surface for me to place items onto it. And of course, I then embellished with silver spoon handles. I have the tray placed on an ottoman so it can act as an extra side table. The next one you see on the top right corner is a tray I made out of a dark brown wooden slat that used to hold sand from the beach. I emptied out the sand, cleaned it up, painted the whole thing white, and then added the silver spoon handles as embellishments to frame the entire tray. Now the tray sits on top of our kitchen island, and by the way, the glass pineapple candle holder you see in the middle was actually made from leftover spoon parts, specifically the round part of the spoon that I had previously snapped off the handles. And then a third tray I made is also made from a large picture frame I painted white and then added silver glitter paper behind the glass, and then I embellished the sides of the frame with the silver plastic spoon handles. So as you see, you can get pretty creative with these spoons to make beautiful home decor. And with that said, this tray is now complete. I don't think you can even recognize what it used to look like with the fancy number 8 legs, the bling, and the silver tray top with the silver spoons framing the whole thing. And here's the final look for our tray sitting on one of the built-in shelves. I love how the legs turned out. They're so glittery and I just love all the bling. I also think that the contact paper with the brushed stainless steel finish is quite unique, but it serves a functional purpose too, because it has a glossy surface so it will be easy to wipe clean. And take a look at the space underneath the tray. There's plenty of room underneath that you could tuck away other items without creating extra clutter on your table surface. And on top of the tray, there's enough surface area to hold your favorite perfume bottles, maybe some jewelry you like to wear often. Or in my case, I've placed a few candle holders I made along with a gold painted figurine. And here's the tray in my bathroom. I actually tucked it underneath a taller shelf I made that also I blinged out with the number 8 blocks, which are attached vertically as legs. There's plenty of room on top of the tray for beauty items I use frequently, and then tucked discreetly underneath the tray is the fold-away storage box I made last week, which I can pull out whenever I need to. If you enjoyed today's craft tutorial, please like and subscribe to my channel and share with other creative gems. Also remember to hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I have another DIY glam project on my channel.